So I am chair of the Irish Research Council, and I'm going to take a little bit of time to talk about the national perspective, both for the benefit of our visitors and for those of us from the national community within the room. The Council was founded, it is a young actor on this stage, if you like. We were formed just over a year ago, but we were the merger of two entities that had been in existence for a little over a decade. One of them dealing with humanities and social sciences, and the other science, engineering and technology. Now, I am aware, and we on Council are very aware of the particular importance of the Irish Research Council for Humanities and Social Sciences. To get that funding stream into this area in Ireland, it was hard won, it was very important, it has been of enormous value to the community and to the country. So we are very aware of that in the merged Council, of our particular role in articulating and arguing the case both at national and international level for humanities and social sciences, feeding into policy, capturing the excellent work that is going on and enabling and sustaining a vibrant community in this area. Just by way of the information, the funding stream has not changed despite our country's economic difficulties. The funding for the Council has broadly held steady. The percentage of the funding going to humanities and social sciences has also been maintained. So in case people are concerned about that should not be a concern. But although we are very aware of our particular role in relation to humanities and social sciences, I think there are more and more issues that unite us as researchers than where we need to take the separate viewpoint. And that is very, very clear to me in our deliberations at Council and in our interactions with the community. The notion of a strong voice articulating for the importance of research, the benefits of research for an informed education system, for not just a smart economy but a smart society, these are cross-cutting, and it is important that we have a strong and unified voice feeding into the debate in Ireland and in Europe at what is a fraught time for research funding and indeed for societies in various respects. So to give you some background about the Irish research position, there was an exercise, because much of this is entirely transferable to the European scene, as I think you will see when I go through it. So there was an exercise a couple of years ago. We went through a national research prioritisation exercise to identify priorities of economic significance and also national research strength. So the outcome of that process was a list of 14 areas which were to be national priorities for research spending. Now, our Council we are engaged in the prioritisation action group. We support the prioritisation effort in a number of ways. Clearly, for a country the size of Ireland, it is very important and very right that we take a stance such as that, where we see where we can really make impact internationally. However, the prioritisation report itself makes clear that there is more to life. There is the necessity for somebody to mind the broader picture of research for knowledge and research for policy. And those aspects fall particularly to our Council. So we are supportive of prioritisation in a number of very important respects, and I'll mention a couple of them shortly, but we also take the wider viewpoint, and we regard it as enormously important that somebody take the wider viewpoint for all the reasons that will be familiar to you in this room. The need to grow priorities that are not the priorities identified today, but will be the priorities 5, 10, 20 years from now. The need to feed a broad-based research system, and indeed, as I say, a smart society as well as a smart economy. So our particular focus in Council is on people, the development of excellent researchers, particularly early-stage researchers. We have a large and very successful PhD studentship scheme, which has been running for many years, a postdoctoral scheme. On the humanities and social sciences side, we have a fellowship scheme for more senior researchers. So our focus is always on the development of the researcher. As part of that, transferable skills and employability are a key concern for us. We have a strong and growing engagement with employers. Arising from the Science, Engineering and Technology Council, we had a very strong enterprise partnership scheme where the Council would co-fund research with companies in areas of interest to both the researcher and the company. And this has proven to be enormously successful. We've expanded it into a broader definition of enterprise. So in our most recent employment-based PhD scheme, where PhDs are funded for employees of companies in essentially a co-educational experience between the company and the higher education institution, we see a very large uptake from employers in the humanities and social sciences area. So we feel that we can learn across the two communities, if you like. We can learn from one another. We can embed best practice. Because to us it is very clear that in that environment where there are national priorities identified, we feel that the humanities and social sciences dimension should be captured in each of those areas. And again, in my own work as an engineer, for example, an area I do a lot of work in UCD is in energy research, and our industrial partners are continually telling us that the behavioural and social science dimension of energy uptake is vital to our progress in this area. So that's just one small example of how humanities and social sciences research feeds very directly into the priority areas, but of course it has a separate existence. It has separate and entirely important priorities that are separate to those identified. And again, we see, I think, the same dynamic in Europe. We want the humanities and social sciences voice to be strong within the societal challenges in Europe, but we also want to have a separate voice articulating the case for a broader look at humanities and social sciences research. And we as a council want to support that voice in whatever way we can. Just some figures about the council. In 2012, we gave out 350 studentships, 115 postdoctoral fellowships. 35% of those, so just over a third now, are on these employment-based schemes. So this is an increasingly important avenue for us, and one that I think holds enormous potential, currently somewhat untapped in humanities and social sciences. The success rate in our schemes is around about 15-16%. This is as low as I think one would want to see internationally before it dips so low that it is not worth people's while to participate. We have had to undergo the merger, of course, of the two schemes from the previous councils. There have been some minor teething problems, but largely, I think, resolved. And we were very gratified to see this year that the number of applications was up quite significantly after a couple of years when it had been falling. The total number of students we fund around the Irish system is around 1,200, so that would put us as the largest funder nationally of PhD students and masters throughout the system. And the postdoctoral researchers and senior fellowships, we're looking there at about 350 people around the system. So we, of course, have very strong European engagement where we articulate our concern as national funders, we articulate the concerns of our community, feeding into policy. Again, we have a policy dimension to our work. We are specifically charged with advising on policy nationally, and then, of course, we also feed in internationally through all of these organisations whom you see. So for a number of them, we would be the national delegate or the national contact point. We work very closely with our European colleagues to ensure that the concerns of the Irish research community generally are reflected in what happens at the European level. One that I'll mention in particular, we are involved in both the Norface and the HERA networks. I'll mention HERA in particular. We've recently taken over the management of the HERA network, and we've been very proactive in the leadership of HERA, and Sean Ryder, of course, is here and will be on the table here this afternoon. There is currently a consultation underway where HERA is seeking the input of the humanities and social sciences community in relation to future research themes, both for its own calls to feed into Horizon 2020 and more generally to articulate the case for humanities and social sciences research. So we encourage you to participate in that consultation. Our website, research.ie, gives you the link to that. The deadline was to have been today, but I think we've pushed it forward to tomorrow in order to capture feedback from today's event. So I'd be very grateful if you can take the time to feed in your thoughts as to what these research themes should be. So as I say, what we see, I think, at European level is very interestingly similar to what we see at the national level here in Ireland in terms of the organisation of research funding. The European Research Council, of course, has been an enormous success, and we want to see that continuing and growing its success. Under Horizon 2020, we're familiar, of course, with the societal challenges, which are not a million miles away from the priorities that we have identified in Ireland. So I think the challenge for the humanities and social sciences community is first of all to embed its voice in a very clear and distinctive and important and significant way into those challenges, while also looking at the stream that it has particular ownership of. We in Council, as members of Science Europe, are signed up to the Science Europe position statement, and Kirsten will be speaking shortly about that organisation. The position statement on humanities and social sciences research, so again, I won't read through these, I'm sure that most of you in the room are familiar with these, but it is so important at this time, given the economic situation, given the societal situation in Europe, in Ireland at the moment, it is so important to have a really, really strong voice from humanities and social sciences feeding into this debate, and I hope that today's event and others like it can be catalytic in that respect. So arising out of today, there are a few things that I would very much like to see happen. It is of enormous importance that we capture and articulate the benefits of investing in humanities and social sciences research. It is enormously important to us nationally and also at European level. We in the Council have been asked by Minister Sean Sherlock, our Minister for Research and Innovation, who will speak here this afternoon, we've been asked to articulate the benefits of research funding in humanities and social sciences. So we want to work very closely with the community in capturing that information and articulating it. Again, it is so clear to me the benefits and the quality of the research output in this area here nationally. And we can see it in things like the success that Ireland has had in the European Research Council, which in humanities and social sciences is disproportionate to the amount of national research funding that flows in that direction. We can see it in the much maligned university rankings, but where in a country like Ireland, humanities and social sciences are, showing very strong performance in those rankings. So we know that, and we know from our engagement as a council with the researchers on the ground, we know there is wonderful work going on. We have to capture that. If you have success stories that you can feed us back to feed into policy, please let us know. If you have a piece of work that influence policy in an important way, and we all know the economic and social and cultural benefits that can flow from such work, we want to know about it. We are engaged in an exercise now over the coming months to capture in quite a quantitative, hard-nosed way the benefits of the funding that the Council has disbursed since it came into existence, since the two councils came into existence. We need to have that information because it is important in justifying our funding and justifying the importance of what we do. So we want to work with the community to capture and then to articulate that information to our stakeholders, to our funders, both nationally and also internationally. And the word impact, I know, is a dirty word in many communities. I don't think we should shy away from talking about impact as long as it is appropriately defined. All research, by definition, all excellent research has impact. It has impact within its scholarly community, but it has impact that filters out beyond that. And I think that we do need to be a little bit more creative about how we articulate that and how we therefore sell the message. And I very much welcome engagement with your community in this regard. I've heard anecdotal feedback that sometimes our national researchers in Ireland are not as successful as we might be in European and other international competitions because we fall down on articulating the impact of what we do. Where other systems, where people have been schooled in making this argument for a longer period of time, they are better at that, and that is becoming increasingly important. So I think that we do need to, first of all, define what is meant by impact in the broadest and most appropriate sense, and then articulate the impact and benefits of what we are doing, both nationally and internationally. Again, these debates are playing out in Ireland, in Europe, and beyond at the same time. So we need to get our story very straight because, again, at this time in Ireland and in Europe, the cultural, the societal importance of a really strong foundation of research in humanities and social sciences, it could not be more important than it is at this time. So yes, we need to talk about the economic benefits, which are many, of research in this area, but we also need to talk about the broader benefits and why they are so important. And then the other shared objective, something that I hope we might be able to talk about today and come away with some important messages, is we as a council want to help our national research community to succeed in Europe. What do we need to do in order to ease the transition for our excellent researchers as they move up and start targeting European research funding? We know that a small country, small council in a small country like Ireland, we cannot sustain our research community alone. We have to tap into international sources of funding, other sources of funding beyond the government and European funding. So we need to map out the ways by which we can best do this. And once again, I very much welcome your views both today and after today as to how we might do that. So I hope well within the 15 minutes. And I'll leave you with our website there, most immediately in relation to the HERA consultation, where we strongly welcome your views. Just more generally, please engage with us as a council, feed us back your views, tell us your success stories so that together we can map out a strong future for the funding of this area, both nationally and within Europe. Thank you very much.